hold it against you, just like you told me earlier today. And she has a ton of corporate experience working for organizations such as McDonald's and McGraw-Hill. She's won numerous awards, including 2023 GSA Women of Influence and the 2024 Columbia Regional Business Report Women of Influence. And let me just tell you something else real quick, because when I'm talking about underserved and overlooked talent, it's not just veterans. And this is why I love her mission. But she's also going after and trying to unlock the talent of military spouses, people in the disability community, and second chance candidates. What do I mean by that? People coming out of prison, ladies and gentlemen. So she has a Herculean mission that I'm looking to dive into today. So Robyn Grable, welcome to the Veterans Club.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey and Lakeisha. I'm just so happy to be here and a privilege to get to talk about our mission.
I'm just, like I said, I'm way excited, overexcited to get into that mission. It's a very powerful one. But I first want to orient the audience here who is listening. Let's get to know Robyn Grable before she joined the service. What was your upbringing like?
Ooh, you really want to go down that path?
That's what we do here. It's the Veterans Club.
Well, I'm an only child of two divorced parents. So I was a stepchild on both sides of my mother and father. And as you can imagine, that came with its challenges. So I grew up feeling like the redheaded stepchild. I was a somewhat abusive environment on both sides. Both my stepfather and my father were alcoholics. So, and all that comes with that. So I grew up really having to fight for myself and fight where my place was. And then I went into the Navy in 1979 as a female. Had to fight for my place there, so it really was where I belonged. So, yeah, I've been a fighter all my life, and now I get to fight for other people and give a voice to other people that may not know how to do it for themselves yet.
Now I can see where the seeds were first planted, because those initial moments were probably very memorable for you. But I do have a question. Why did you decide to join the military, and especially the Navy?
Great question. So unfortunately, my stepfather would not divulge his finances, so I couldn't apply for college. Found out later, though, that I had a full scholarship if he had just let us fill out the FAFSA form. So again, some tension there. But the Navy recruiter came to my high school one day, as the story is very similar to most people, and said, join the Navy and see the world. I felt like I had few options staying where I was, and I really wanted to get out of the little town that I lived in, or what felt like a little town at the time. And so I was like, sure, join the Navy. I mean, we're a landlocked state, and I grew up in Indiana, and I'm in. So that's how it happened. My mother didn't really like it too much, because I said, I'm going to sign up. And she said, no, don't sign anything today. Just go and find out all about it. I came back and said, I'm leaving in 6 weeks.
I like your style, because my father was the same way, right? I've already started. I was doing the whole pulley program in the Marine Corps, and I said, Dad, I can go right now. I was 17. He's like, I'm not signing for you. And I said, okay. So then on my 18th birthday, I went up to Sacramento and I went to MEPS to do it my first semester of high school, right? So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love my father and I love that, but I think the military brings a lot of great skills and leadership experience. So tell us a little bit about your military experience. What was that like? Did you actually go and travel and see the world just like the Navy had promised?
I did get to see parts of the world I didn't even know existed for the most part. So right out of boot camp, there weren't enough female company commanders, the drill sergeants, as they called them in the Navy. So I was chosen to be one of 5 brand new recruits to go and be an assistant company commander, which was really cool. So I got to do that for 6 months. And then I got orders to Iceland, the Naval Air Station in Keflavik, Iceland. And I remember talking to the dispatcher, and she said, you're going to Iceland. I'm like, where is that? I didn't even know. So I spent 2 years in Iceland, which was a fantastic experience. Being 18 to 20 years old, I'd never been on an airplane before I went into the Navy. So that tells you how much I didn't travel before I got to see the world. And Iceland is a beautiful country. At the time, though, it was under communism, so they didn't really want us there. And I was much blonder and blue-eyed, looked like an Icelandic at the time. So it was a very interesting experience, especially being so young and having not been anywhere really. From there, I went to Jacksonville, Florida, and so I did a hot and cold. All my 9 years of Navy, I went to a hot place, a cold place. So I spent a couple. I only spent about a year in Jacksonville because I ended up getting married and having my daughter. So I then moved up to Brunswick, Maine, where I had my daughter. Great experience there. And then we got orders to Pearl Harbor. So I spent 3 years in Pearl Harbor, and then had orders to Monterey, California, to the weather station there, and ended up getting out, and deciding to get out after I went to programming school in Quantico. So I loved being in the Navy. I loved what I got to do. There were a lot of experiences, but again, I took that fight because women couldn't do a lot of roles simply because we were women. So I went into the Navy undesignated, meaning I didn't have a job actually yet. So they just let me come in and I could figure it out at whenever I could. And so I got to Iceland and really was assigned to kind of the cleaning the captain's quarters. That was my first assignment. I will never forget Captain Robert Berg. I was in his office at like 6 a.m. He was not supposed to be there until 8. He surprised me and got there early. And it just like freaked me out. I was like, oh my gosh, there's the captain of the base. And, I'm supposed to be cleaning his office. And here I am, this little E2. And so he was just so wonderful. He sat me down and he said, all right, here's the deal. I'm an officer. I've earned my rank. I've earned where I am, but I put my uniform on one leg at a time, just like you do. Respect should be earned and given, but it does not need to be feared. And I have always remembered that. And it's just really resonated with me. So I spent many years of my time in the Navy advocating for women, advocating for the underserved. Everywhere I went, I would create some sort of club, some sort of community where we could help people that just really didn't have a voice of their own, didn't feel like they had a voice of their own. So I loved being in the Navy. I loved wearing the uniform. I was very proud of it. So yeah, that was my time in the Navy.
That sounds like an amazing story. Then I hope you write a book about it, because it's especially during that time where a certain community was not allowed probably a lot of roles, right? And I love how you still found a way around it, because you built a community around it, right? And you gave them a voice, which is what we do here on the Veterans Club. It's all about giving people a voice so they can express themselves and we can learn and build from one another. And it sounds like that captain made a very memorable experience on you, right? Were there any other leaders like that captain that had mentored you and guided you throughout the service? Because it must have been a little difficult since you were, one of the few females, right, in your units.
Each duty station I was at, Jacksonville, I seemed to always find one person. There was a lieutenant commander in Jacksonville, Michael Thomas, that had a big impact on me. And then when I got to Hawaii, in Brunswick, I actually worked for a civilian contractor. That's who I reported to. And I was not on the base. I was over across the river in Topsom, Maine. So we were more in a civilian kind of contracting place. I was still in the Navy though. But then when I got to Pearl Harbor, Commander Fox and the Rear Admiral William Penley, just a lot of really great guidance and leadership. I spent 2 years while I was in Hawaii working on a limited duty officer program on my package to be able to go be an officer. I thought I could change the Navy if I became an officer. So I had high expectations and high hopes, but they really guided me and allowed me to be me and do many things while I was there. And just I got a lot of awards and they just supported me. So I did get a lot of support along the way, but it was still frustrating to be told. When I got to Pearl Harbor and had to start to think about my next assignment. My daughter was 3 years old and I wanted to go on a ship. I wanted that experience, but they said a female cannot have a dependent and go on a ship. We were just getting to the point they were letting us on ships to begin with. But they said, you can't have a dependent and be on a ship. And I said, well, I'm not giving up custody of my daughter for anyone. And so that didn't happen. But other than that, I just got a lot of support for the things that I wanted to do until I found that, you get up to that wall and you're like, this is the way we've always done it. This is the way we're always going to do it. I thought, okay, I'll become an officer and maybe I can change that. But that wasn't meant to be. It was just meant for me to do my 9 years and get out and take that experience with me for the next phase of my life.
And by the way, I do want to get into that. And I do want to pitch it over to Lakeisha to kind of get her perspective on female veterans here. So Lakeisha.
Absolutely. So one thing about it, Robyn, through the transitions and everything in life, just as a female, how were you able to really handle that and show others how they can actually prevail when they join the service?
Great question. So, I think, and I was married to a Navy service member at the time as well. So, but my service took a back seat to his, unfortunately, again, because I was a female. So every time we PCS'd, it was always me that had to take care of all the stuff that military spouses have to take care of. Right. But, I think that it was really an opportunity for me to just do what I do. And I'm very resilient. I grew up having to, like we talked about, I grew up having to fight for myself and find my place. So it was almost just a natural place for me to do that in the Navy and show others that it can be done. That if you just stand up for yourself, if you just have a little bit of resilience, if you just show your strength, unfortunately, the flip side of that, though, is, females, they were like, why are you here? You had the older generation that wanted to treat you like their granddaughters. And you had the younger generation who thought females only went into the military to, and so you had to fight that juxtaposition. And so it was, I wanted to have a voice and let people know I'm capable. I have the same strength. I have the same skills. I have the same, smarts. If I can do it, let me do it. And so I just tried to form that path. And it came naturally to a degree just because of my background and my drive to make things better and different.
Wow, that's amazing. That transition is great for us to all be resilient. I feel that we're all impacted by your story. Thank you so much.
And Robyn, I do want to add on to that because I want to thank you, first of all, for your service. And I want to thank you for the resilience that you are displaying, because even though you might not see it and you might not feel it, but you have paved the way for a ton of women who are in leadership positions today. And by the way, you probably know this, the first the CNO of the Navy is a female now. Admiral Franchetti, which I think we should probably get her on the podcast and probably have you as well, so you guys can connect and talk about those experiences, because you have paved the way, Robyn, and that says a lot about you. In fact, I'm seeing more and more women in the media, right? Like you got like Miss USA, and Air Force as well, who I think she was also like one of the Miss USAs, right? So like women are getting more notoriety, but it was you who were one of those pioneers, right? Somebody had to go and pave the way. So that says a lot about you. So
thank you. Yeah, it's an honor to be part of that. You don't think about it when you're in the trenches, if you will. I didn't really think I was blazing any trails. I just felt like it was the right thing to be doing. It was the right thing to make sure other females could get those opportunities without the barriers. But I think, it was I was meant to go there to start that journey, to continue my life and do what I do today. So I'm very blessed.
I believe Jeffrey is frozen. So I know it's all good. But you know what? When it comes to our he's coming back. When it comes to transition and just, doing everything that you're doing when it comes to service, how were you able to really gracefully guide yourself through that? Was it like a struggle sometimes through a transition, or was it easy going?
Oh no. Well, it's funny because when I look back, I was a single mom. So I ended up leaving, getting separated from my husband at the time with my young daughter. And when I decided to get out of the Navy, I felt like it was the right timing for me based on several things that were happening. And I had my daughter. So it was, and back then in 1988, when I got out, there was no transition assistance program at all. I was in uniform on March 31st, collected my last paycheck the end of that day. I was out of uniform the very next day and on my way home. So there was no transition. There was no, resources given to me. They were just, and so I was like, okay, well, I didn't really feel like I was, struggling. I just went and I had to get a job. I had to put a roof over my daughter's head, had to figure all that out. It wasn't until many years later when I look back on that transition, and while I was able to get a job, I went to a resume writer, never had a resume before, went to a resume writer, and he was like, no idea how to translate what you did in the military or how you even explain why you were in the military. So you're a female, go get a job as administrative assistant. There's a staffing agency just down the street. And I mean, I've been doing what I was told for 9 years. I'm like, okay, I can do whatever, right? As most veterans say, hey, I can do whatever. And so I did. I went to the staffing agency, got a job. But as I look back on it several years later, I spent that first 12 years out of the Navy in 10 different jobs in 4 different states. And every time I would leave, because I was undervalued, underpaid, and wasn't matched to my skills that I was really had earned in the Navy. And so looking back on it, it was a struggle, but I just did it because I had my daughter. And again, I'm very resilient and I knew I could take care of myself and her. So I would leave. I'd decide, okay, I'm going to move to, California now. And I'd get a job when I got there. And then, okay, I'm going to move to New York now. And I got a job when I got there, but I got jobs. But what happened is I didn't have a career. I missed out on 12 years of career progression, of, paid and promotion, those kind of things. And finally, in 2000, 12 years after I was out, I got a job at ADP doing the same thing I was doing when I left the Navy, the very same thing. So I lost all that time of progression, and that hurt. So looking back on it, it was a struggle, but during the time, I just needed I did what I needed to do.
Yeah, that's really great. Honestly, you're able to still persevere moving forward. You know what I'm saying? That's the great thing about being in the military. Those, soft skills and, that training still goes with you. So even if you didn't have an occupation outside in the civilian world, you still was able to translate that into, the marketplace. So thank you so much, Robyn, for that. We appreciate you. I believe Jeffrey is back now. Uh-oh, we can't hear him.
And speaking of resilient, you can't stop me saying not today, because I'm going to keep going, right? So, Robyn, I thank you, Lakeisha. Robyn, I talk to a lot of veterans, and we have a very growing community. And some of the common things I hear from them is I'm overqualified, right? Some of them are, right? Because some of corporate America is asking them to. They want all 20 years of experience, and they want you to have been the CEO of a company. I'm exaggerating here. And then they want to pay you entry level. They want to put you in an entry level role here, right? Sure. And I think that's very frustrating and it upsets me quite a bit, because I know veterans are very capable like yourself who have navigated that. So, what are some lessons or things you can convey to veterans who are transitioning? Because I think it's about the language you're speaking, right? Because the business world speaks a different language, sure, right? We just got to translate what we learned in the military to the business world. There's similarities there, but I think it's a language. What would you say to those veterans who may feel that they're struggling right now?
Yeah. So great question. And this is exactly why we do what we do at Talents Ascend, because of those reasons. The TAP program today is obviously much better than it was in 1988. Didn't exist. So we've come a long way, but there's still a lot more we should be doing in that transition. Veterans go through those transitions and they're like, go to work for Boeing, go to work for Break of America. All the Fortune 50 companies, they all want to hire veterans. They all pay six-figure salaries because you're a veteran. Not true. Those companies don't hire every veteran that comes out, but there are 33 million small businesses across the US that will give veterans an opportunity for a great career, to use your skills, to use your leadership, and get paid what you're worth. Now, not every small business can pay six-figure salaries, but there are plenty that can. But we don't get told about those small businesses. We don't get told about, you're moving back to Richmond, Virginia. Here's a connect with your Chamber of Commerce. Here's a list of small businesses in that community. Go talk to them. We just think about the bigger businesses, and that's where the problems come in, because they're not hiring every veteran that comes out. And there's no way to do that. And they're also painting that picture that they're going to get a six-figure salary when that's not reality either. And so my advice would be, open up your aperture of what you're looking for. Know what your skills are. So, it's just, you can't just put all your military history on a resume and think that people are going to understand that. They won't. It'll be so confusing for most non-military people that they won't even look at it, which is the problem. Resumes are the problem for veterans and military spouses. They are the huge problem. That's what we decided when we created, back then at the beginning, was a Veterans Ascend, now Talents Ascend. The resume is the problem. Think about anything we've used since 1482, when the resume was created. What else have we kept around? Very little, right? We communicate differently. We work differently, all these things, but we've kept this resume. And unfortunately, corporations have gone from looking at a resume as a plus to looking at a resume and being discriminatory, and how can I get you off my list, versus what can I see, what value can I see in you? And that's the problem. Big businesses can do that. They can hide behind those filters and all of that because they've got plenty of time and resources to get to the person they want. Small businesses don't have that luxury. They want good people to work for them, which is why we focus on small businesses, because they need a person with multiple skills. Veterans fit in so well in small businesses because we're used to wearing multiple hats. We don't do just one job in the military. You do multiple things, which is why you have multiple transferable skills. So look at those small businesses in your communities and go in and talk to the business owner. Don't just submit your resume. Just go in and have a conversation with the manager, with the business owner in your local communities. That will help you get further along. One, in learning how to tell your story, because you're in an environment where they want to hear what your skills are. Don't walk in and say that, I was an 88 Mike and I drove big trucks and I drove this and I did all this. Go in and talk about your skills and how that translates to that business. Understand it. It's really up to you as the veteran transitioning to do that work. No one's going to do it for you. And if you think someone's going to do it for you, then you've been sold a bill of goods. But there are resources like Talents Ascend. You can create a Talents Ascend profile for free. We will translate your skills for you and translate those military occupations and any of your experience into skills. Then take that with you. Learn how to tell your story from the skills. It's all about being able to tell your story, but not with every big business. They're not going to hire you. They're going to hide behind all the barriers that they can put up until they're ready to make a decision. And then you might get in, but small businesses need the talent.
Lakeisha, did you have a comment?
Oh yeah, I definitely have a comment. Talents Ascend, I feel that is really, really the right way that we can really go. One thing that, a lot of us service members, we're very talented, but, it's confusing when in the marketplace because they don't understand actually what you do. And it's like, I know that you're talented, you're a veteran, I really appreciate you, but I have no idea where to place you. So you need to be put in a place, where you can actually understand what to do. So I see how you talk about mentorship, and I see how you talk about how we need to have that. let's lean in on that a little bit, because, having a tribe is important to have, but how do I know to have a tribe? I need a mentor. I need somebody. What do you think about, just that for all of us that comes out of the military for us to have?
Absolutely. I mean, but it's so simple, because in the military, you typically always have a battle buddy. Every duty station you go to, you're going to get assigned to somebody that's kind of really your mentor for that location, right? They're going to help you navigate where the chow hall is, where the commissary is, all of those things on base. You get assigned to someone that is really your buddy, your mentor. So it's not a foreign concept for veterans to think of it in terms of, once you get out of the military, find that tribe, find those mentors. And there's so many more ways to do that today than there was in 1988. We didn't have the internet in 1988, so now you've got internet, you've got social media, you've got all these veteran service organizations that are out there. It's very easy to find them. Go to the VA, they'll have a list of veteran service organizations in your community. Again, the work is on you, though. You can't just sit back and think the tribe is going to find you. You've got to get out and find your tribe. And they're out there. We are out here. You are not alone. LinkedIn is a great place. You can, on LinkedIn, put in veteran or put in military in the search, and you'll bring up a whole list. And then you can filter it by location. So if I want to find veterans or military related people in Richmond, Virginia, you can do that very easily on LinkedIn, and Facebook as well. Find people that are in your area. So mentorship is absolutely 1000% necessary, because just like we were talking about, I paved a path that when I was in the Navy, that people have followed behind me. They were able to do that because I was doing that path. Well, same thing in the civilian world. Find somebody who is 3 or 4 or 5, 6 steps ahead of you in their transition, or they've been out for a couple of years. Find those people, because they've built a path that you can now walk down without a lot of the same barriers if you didn't find your tribe. So absolutely so important that you find people that can understand what you're going through, that have been through it themselves, and really know how to help you navigate. If you're deciding where you're going to move, they can help you figure that out. There's great organizations like ACP, American Corporate Partners, that assign mentors. There's so many resources out there. And Talents Ascend, I mean, we don't just, do employment. We have a nonprofit called the Ascend Collective. That piece of our business is there to help you find those resources. So please connect with me and I'll get you set.
Yeah,
I think that's
I really
powerful.
like this.
That's powerful. Great question, Lakeisha, because ACP, I've gone through their program. They're a phenomenal program, right? The Veterans Club. I'm gonna boast for the Veterans Club here. We are here. We are your tribe, and we are your family as well, ladies and gentlemen. We are bringing on people like Robyn to share her experiences and talents, so you don't feel like you're talking 20 jargon words to like that recruiter who's just like, wait, what? What did you say? Is that English, right? Like, we are bringing people on because we want you to thrive and survive. And I do have to give a shout out to Veterati as well. It's a platform that has changed my life. And I'm a little sad about to hear that they are winding down at the end of the month. But guess what? There are tribes like Talents Ascend and the Veterans Club and LinkedIn and ACP who are here to be your family and to be that battle buddy on the other side. And Robyn, I do want to go back to you talking about small businesses, because I've been telling veterans about this. I come from a family of small business owners. I saw what the pandemic did to them, right? My sister and my brother-in-law own a construction business. My cousin owns a restaurant. And you and I were talking about this on a pre-production call before. And I saw when the whole PPP loan was being rolled out and they had to get to the back of the bus, they had to wait for a long time. And I said, man, another pandemic happens and they're not going to be around. But small businesses are the lifeblood of the community in America. And veterans are an immense opportunity for them. Right. And I think it's great to start looking at your backyard, because veterans, guess what? Your neighbor chances are he probably invests more in your community than some of these bigger companies. And so what I like about Robyn is she's taking talent ascend. She's going against the grain because everybody just starts those big staffing agencies and they just want to go after the Fortune 500. Robyn is saying, no, I'm going to go after the small businesses. I see how important they are. So she's presenting an immense opportunity for veterans and military families and military spouses to go and be potentially, you can potentially even be a business owner, right? Because here's the thing, a lot of baby boomers are retiring veterans, and they are
oh no. Did he freeze up again?
Yes, he sure did.
Well, I'll keep going on that topic, Lakeisha, because he's on a good point. The baby boomers are starting to retire. They don't want to work as long as they're having to, but they can't find people to work in their business to help them grow, to have that succession plan. So definitely look at small businesses in your backyard. They do, contribute to the local community more so than some of these big businesses. And the fact of the matter is, Boeing can't build airplanes without the thousands of small businesses that supply the parts for those airplanes, right? Lockheed Martin can't do what they do. None of these big businesses can do what they do without the millions of small businesses in our communities that do what they do. So it is such important work. I'm so really happy that there's so much buzz around small businesses these days because they're the backbone of this country. They supply so much talent and so much opportunity for talent. It's just amazing but they don't get enough press, especially from coming out of the military. Military spouses, they're a great opportunity for them because a lot of them may only need you to work part-time, and they offer a lot of different remote opportunities as well. But they know the value of a veteran or a military spouse. They definitely do, because there's a lot of them. 45% of veterans own businesses. They're once they're coming out, creating businesses. So it is a great path to start working for a small business and get into your own business ownership or take over a business. There's just so much opportunity out there. And you're building a relationship with somebody that values your skills because they know what you bring to the table versus working for a big corporation. I know I'll probably get into lots of trouble saying this, but the CEO of a big corporation, is he or she going to know your name? Not likely, but if you want to feel valued and have that sense of purpose again and really have a place and make a difference like you've done in the military, go find a small business to work for.
That is so true, Robyn, honestly. And I'm loving how you're saying about this and just championing when it comes to this, because a lot of times we don't realize how those resources are out there. There's a lot of challenges when it comes to small businesses and, how we can actually do those careers that we did in the military out in the workforce. So, I'm loving how we tapping into that. Jeffrey, I know you're back now. And
not today, say, and not again. That's not happening. I don't know what's going on, but we'll figure it out. So, Robyn, I thank you, Lakeisha, for continuing the conversation. But small businesses, I just want to hit on this again because I want veterans to understand. Small businesses are so vital to America. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't understood, America right now needs help, a lot of help. We are in this economic, and I call it spiritual war as well, where we are falling behind to a lot of competitors. And it's all hands on deck approach, right? The captain is saying we need to get all hands on deck, and that includes small businesses. Veterans, there's a tremendous opportunity to work with somebody like a Robyn who can plug you in with potentially a small business owner. And you can apply those leadership skills, those soft skills that you have learned in the service to a new organization, right? The mission has changed, but guess what? You might be actually getting more of a leadership role in a smaller company where you can get promoted probably faster. You may not make a lot right away, but eventually you might become an owner one day. And I think that's a tremendous opportunity for them instead of just going the corporate route. There's nothing wrong going the corporate route, but I think the what you're doing here, Robyn. I think that says a lot about you. And I think my veterans here, I hope you guys are taking notes here, because we got small business owners also, Robyn, in our community here, right? We got Lakeisha, Joe. You might have heard him earlier. You might hear him at the after show. He's a COO. He didn't go work for corporate America. He worked for Maxwell Soaps, right? Owned by and founded by a Navy veteran. And their mission is powerful, right? What they do is they're creating these organic soaps to, every time you buy a soap from them, they're going to give one to somebody on the streets.
Nice.
And Joe is the COO of that small business that eventually is going to grow, because we want them to grow. We want our veteran business to grow. So I think you're presenting an amazing opportunity, an amazing use case. So what would you say to those veterans who are in transition or probably in their corporate career? And what would you say about this opportunity with a lot of baby boomers retiring?
Yeah. So yeah, Lakeisha and I were still continuing that conversation, Jeffrey, and it really is, look in your local community, because you're going to get the opportunities. That small business owner needs good talent. They need somebody that can come in and help them grow their business. And you're going to get a relationship with that small business owner that will take you places. And you may not get that in corporate America, because, as I was saying, how many CEOs are you going to learn, is going to learn your name right off the bat? But if you work for a small business owner, then there are many more small businesses in your local community that you can connect to than the bigger businesses, right? The numbers are there. So, and it just, I get so excited to talk about this, and then I can't get the words out, but there's just so much opportunity to go in and be valued, get a sense of purpose again, have a mission that makes a difference, because most small businesses have a community-minded impact mission statement, right? They have a better product or service that they want to put out there, but there's a part of their business that gives back to the community. There's a part of their business that invests in their communities. And that is so important for veterans, because we have that sense of purpose, that we were bigger than life putting on that uniform. And who are we when we take that uniform off? Go work for a small business and get that embroidered, shirt. And, now you've got that sense of purpose again and that mission. It's just, there's so much opportunity. It's a little bit harder, of course, because, you may not be able to find them without getting in your car and driving around your local community. It won't be as easy as just, applying. But then if you just blindly apply on an application, you're not getting through the filters. So spend your time in your community. Go to chamber events, go to ribbon cuttings. They happen every week in local communities, new business forums. Go meet these business owners. And it might not be you get a job today, but if you build those relationships, you will find your place in your local community, and it will make a huge difference. So that's what I would say, to veterans. Just go out and take what you bring, the skills that you bring, and 1,000% you have transferable skills. Don't let anybody tell you that your skills don't translate, don't transfer to, and what we do, we see 11 Bravos in the Marine Corps as an infantry. If you looked at what those responsibilities are and the skills that comes with that, it's not just security. But if you go in with a resume and it says, I was an 11 Bravo security officer for 34 years, that small business owner is going to look at you and say, I don't need a security guard. What else can I do with you? But if you go in saying, here's the operations I've planned, here's the people I've led, here's the things that I've done from a business perspective, they're going to say, yes, I need somebody to help me run operations. I need somebody that's going to be able to strategically think with me. I need somebody who's going to be able to plan with me. Let's sit down and have that conversation. It's a completely different conversation. So again, there's opportunity out there. Small businesses need the talent. They just don't have the time or the resources to find you. You go out and find them.
All right, I think you can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay,
sorry,
perfect.
So, sorry. 11 Bravos of the Army. My apologies.
It's okay. Hey, brother, she's a shipmate,
My
right?
nephew is a 0311, or however you pronounce it. Yes. So my apologies. My nephew's going to be very upset with me.
She's a shipmate. It's okay. We are going to give the Navy a pass. We're not going to hold it against him, right? We love the Navy, the world's greatest Navy. But Robyn, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I think as I think veterans right now are craving more purpose.
Yeah. Oh, Joe or Jeffrey,
Yep.
frozen again.
Yep.
But yes, I mean, veterans, when we put that uniform on, I know that for me, when I had that uniform on, I felt so important. You didn't even have to say anything. People could see your name. They could see your rank. They could see what medals you'd earned. I mean, they really knew everything about you pretty much just by looking at your uniform. You take that off and you don't have any of that. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows what you've achieved. Nobody knows what your core mission is. So it's a big transition to go from that feeling so important. When I was in Iceland, we were tracking Russian submarines at the time. And I didn't realize it at the time how important that was. I was just, doing my job. But when you get out and you look back on that, it's like, wow, I was doing some really national security stuff. Now what do I do? You go through that period. And so, but if you go to a small business and a small business wants to be part of the community, they're helping school kids get backpacks, as part of their community mission. And in addition to selling whatever they sell, there's so much that you can do from a small business perspective without all the red tape the corporations put in place. And hide behind, really. So yeah, it's just that sense of purpose can be totally found much easier at a small business where you can make an impact, make a difference right from the start, really. And to that business owner as well, because they've got a dream to grow their business for a reason, and to be part of that and be side by side with that business owner, helping them live that dream, helping them build that dream, which could ultimately lead you to build your own dream and have the opportunity to have that business ownership if you want. There's just nothing like it. And you won't find that in a corporation. So
Yeah,
I'll get off my soapbox now, Lakeisha.
No, you can stay on it because this is really amazing. Honestly, it's true that all of us really need to find our own niche, need to find our way. And we can find that and translate everything from the military into the civilian world, like you said. Yeah. We can still hone in on that. We just need to hear, that we can actually translate it in the way that is moving for us. Because a lot of times it's very stressful. And it's, our mental health is really impacted on it, trying to really figure out how can I belong? You're trying to find your why again and your purpose when you come out. So, you know what I mean? And honestly, you just need someone like Robyn to be able to show you, no, you can actually still do the same things you did before, and you can translate it in the marketplace in order to continue to prevail. So absolutely. I appreciate that.
And you bring up a great point about mental health and mental wellness. That's our true point of starting this business was to end underemployment for veterans. We can get jobs. I got plenty of jobs, but as I'd mentioned, 12 years of lack of career progression and that money that came with that, right? And so we can get jobs. It's getting great careers that give us that purpose, that give us that fulfillment, that give us that gainful opportunities within our lives. So it's just, you have to know what you bring to the table and believe in it, so that you can go to a small business owner and capitalize on those things, because you do have transferable skills. And again, don't let anybody tell you don't. But again, you have to do the work to feel that. But as far as mental health goes, if you get out and get a job and now you don't make enough money to support your family, what happens? You start to go down that downward spiral, right? You get depressed. And then depression can lead to substance abuse. And then you get homeless. And now you're facing, suicide ideations. And we want to stop those things. We want to connect as many veterans, military spouses into great careers with small businesses who value them, to stop underemployment, to end the military spouse unemployment issues, to end food insecurities. 150,000 military families have food insecurities, not because, the military doesn't pay enough. Well, that's another discussion we can have. But what family in today's world doesn't need two incomes? Like, unless you get up to be, an executive level, but most families need two incomes. Well, military spouses, because of their moving around so much, can't get that security, can't have that, position. So there's food insecurities. And then there's reliance on government assistance. And nobody wants that, because who pays for that? We all do. So if we just make this tiny little change in helping veterans, military spouses, the disability community, the justice involved communities get into these small businesses who need them and are hiring, think about what the community gains from that. We get these people that are thriving in our communities. They're giving back to their communities. They're spending their money in their communities. They're paying their taxes. And so they're not ending up back in prison, or they're not showing, they're showing their kids there's a better path than what I went down before. And, we can end suicide. Again, I could get on this soapbox. It means so much to our communities if we would just think about making these connections in a better way and thinking about positive. We're so negative in this world. And, the resume process just wants to know what's wrong with you so they can get you off their list quickly, instead of saying, wow, this person brings a lot to the table. Let me have a conversation about their skills, what they bring to our organization, and how we can get them in, how we can get them thriving in our communities. So it's really a shame. And I really despise when I hear people say there's a talent shortage. The talent is out there. There are 70 million Americans with some level of criminal record that have barriers just to get to an interview. And they take themselves out of the labor pool. So then they're not even counted in that wonderful unemployment number that the government likes to talk about. They're not even counted in that number. Military spouses, 24% unemployment. There's something wrong with that. There's fundamentally in this country, when a military spouse who is serving our country in his or her own uniform, not the one they were issued, but the one they took upon themselves, they're serving our country. There's something wrong with the unemployment military spouses face. So again, I could harp on this all day, but the opportunities are out there. Small business and no resume is the answer.
And hopefully for the third time say, and I see what you're doing to me, but guess what? We're going to keep going. Robyn, I think what you are demonstrating here, and I hear your passion, but I want veterans and people to know you are enough. You are qualified. You have done tremendous things in the world's greatest military. And guess what? You're going to run into doors that are going to close on you. But that's okay, because you've learned how to adapt and overcome.
Yes.
You know how to survive in hostile environments. You know how to run multi-million-dollar programs, right? Equipment. You know how to lead people in areas where a lot of stress you underwent, and you did it for the mission and the culture and the values and the principles. That is what small businesses need today, because we're talking about families. Small business is about the family, right? There's a war on the families. That's a whole different topic. That's why I'm big on small businesses, because when there's a small business, that means the family is getting attacked, right? And guess who invests more in the community? Small businesses do, right? So if you keep your dollar longer in the community, Robyn's also talking about building generational wealth, economic development, workforce development, right? I have a friend of mine. Him and I talk every day. Scripture. He was in prison for many years, and the system and he is talented beyond means. He's gonna write a book one day, because his story is powerful. When you guys just hear about it, I'm not gonna steal his thunder. But right now, the system has said, because he's driving a taxi cab, and he needs to get a pardon from the governor of California, right? For something he did 10 years ago. It was a petty offense, but now they made it seem like it's bigger than it is, right? So they said, no, you need to do 10, you're only at 8 years, right? But the man, if you know the man, he will give the shirt off his back for somebody off the street. He will give his food to somebody who actually needs it, right? He will do all these great things for his community, but the world is saying, you're not qualified enough, Daryl. You need to do your time and be penalized. So that's why your mission drives me, because I love what you're doing here, because there's a lot of talent, right? When you're talking about skills-based talent, you're talking about community relations, this person is displaying. You're talking about community organizing, right? And there's this big disconnect between corporate America and their customer base, because they'll make these decisions based on some political wave that they're hiring, and they're missing the ball right down the grassroots at the grassroots. So I got my politician hat on, but I'm here wanting to folks to understand how important this mission is that you embarked upon, Robyn. And I love that someone has put this in your heart to do this, because I think you're going to do tremendous. And I want all my small businesses owners or veterans, if you're interested in learning more about Talents Ascend, scan that QR code to the top right or top left of Lakeisha. I forgot the screens right now, or down there, there's a euro down there. Type it in, have a conversation with her, because her and I, when we talked, all I want to tell her about was small businesses, because I think small businesses are the future, and I think veterans are the future, and not to mention all the other communities Robyn is talking about, right? Those that have been quote unquote disabled, which they're really not, but they have this category, this label, or others who are in prison. Like, there is a pipeline that Robyn is disrupting here, and I think it's tremendous, right? Because these are very resourceful people, resilient people. And who do you want running your business? Someone who's going to be there when the fire is going on, or someone who's going to run away from it, right? As Marines, Robyn, we're going to run to the fire. Exactly. Without a doubt, right? So yes. I just want to thank you. I do have one question for you. What is the vision, the end vision, or at least the end state for Talents Ascend in the next couple of years? What are you looking to accomplish?
Yeah. Well, we want to educate small business owners on the impact of skills-based hiring, so they kind of break the cycle that they learned how to do resume and applications in those big corporations where they came from. So we want to break that cycle. And we're on a mission to do that. But we want every small business to have every opportunity to connect with a veteran and military spouse, the disability community, and the justice involved communities as we can. So we just need to spread the word. We want to break the cycles that are happening for military families. We want to break the cycles and the value that the veterans bring. We want to make sure that everybody sees it. And less than 1% of the country serves in uniform, which, it's our freedom they're protecting, that we've protected. That's a big thing. We need to be more respectful of that and really value that across this country. Because where would we be without that, the greatest military in the world? Where would we be without them? So, we just really want to educate more people. We want to help more people, as many people as we can, thrive in our communities. So that's what we're here for. So get in touch with us, please. You are not alone.
Keywords there. You are not alone. Robyn is building a family of leaders and business owners and talent. And I think it's just incredible, because I'm telling you, Robyn, and if you join us for the after show, you'll learn from some of these veterans who attend our after show, right, which is live on LinkedIn Audio. Okay. And when they start talking, like, you just like, man, this person needs to be in Hollywood making movies. Like, yeah. It is incredible, right? Because we have the, and like, what I like about, I've heard some people say, well, military people are just in a box. And it's like, have you seen the list of Hollywood actors? They're veterans, and a lot of them are some of the most creative, and their ingenuity and innovative. Like, if you give veterans a downtime, they're going to come up with some creative. We had a guy who made the crayon joke, turned it into an actual edible chocolate crayon, right? Marines eat crayons. He turned it into a business. Exactly. Like, what more do you want, right? From that, I think that's incredible, right? Real quick, so you do also have, and I'm looking forward to hear from your executive director for Veterans Ascend on a future podcast. But can you talk a little more about kind of what the Veterans Ascend does?
Yeah, so we have Veterans Ascend as part of our military advocacy, and then we have Ability Ascend for the disability community, and then our Mission 2 Ascend is the advocacy for our justice involved. So that all falls under the Ascend Collective, so it's our brand there, but it's really about advocating, getting mentorship, coaching, finding resources, and then connecting those small businesses with the veteran population. So that our nonprofit side really focuses on awareness and advocacy for those communities, and really getting out there and saying, here's why you need to hire a veteran. Here's the impact of that, both on the small business side and the veteran side, the veteran family side. Here's a person with a disability. They're brilliant, but they need to work within these parameters. We all have some of the nuances of those kind of things, but so our nonprofit side really focuses on the advocacy and community, while our corporation is the machine that makes the match. So
I'm fired up, Lakeisha. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to have another whole hour and make sure the Chinese are not disrupting me this time, or the Russians not disrupting me this time. But Lakeisha, I am fired up. Like, I can go another hour with Robyn because her passion and what she is doing and her mission. And I'm going to challenge everyone that's listening here today. Scan the QR code or go to talentsascend.com, schedule a call. Robyn or someone on her team will personally have a conversation with you, because that's how small businesses roll. They are very personable. They know your birthday. They know your milestones. They know everything that's going on within your family. Where else are you going to get that from? Not in corporate America. I'll tell you that. It's not going to happen there. But small businesses do. She understands the need. She understands the tremendous opportunity. And she is someone you want on your team. I look forward to having conversations with her, because I love her mission. And I'm going to try to figure out how we can partner to help veterans and small businesses. And more importantly, make sure that no veteran ends up on the street. No veteran ends up thinking about killing themselves. Because, by the way, 100,000+ veterans have taken their lives since 9/11. That's more than the past 4 wars combined. So there is a shortage right now in spirituality or culture, if you want to call it, community, where people are to be a part of. They want to be a part. They want purpose, right? This is purpose right here, because she is going after a talent pool that the world has overlooked. And I'll tell you what, that is a talent pool that I am going to follow and support, because I would love to see nothing more than Robyn and Talents Ascend to grow and hear about the stories next. The folks that she out of prison or help them with prison to become business owners, right? Like, I saw a lady, I was reading, it was like entrepreneur.com. She created a company, women-owned company, and all of her hirers were out of prison, and they were females out of prison, and they are thriving, Robyn. And that's just a lot, right? Or like an Oscar Mike, I think it was Oscar Mike, or another veteran-owned organization, who they have a nonprofit arm, but what they're doing is they're hiring veterans who have been succumbed to the opioid epidemic, right? And they're using their business as a way to rehab them, to get them off the drugs and get them into a purpose and mission. And that is powerful.
Oh.
Like what you're doing here.
Yeah.
So veterans, again, talentsascend.com, scan the QR code, have a conversation with her. And we hope that she's going to join us for the Veterans Club after show. That's going to be starting in a few minutes today, Robyn. I'm just so grateful for you. I am honored. I'm going to be going back to my hometown, Fresno, next month, which is just country and small businesses. And every time I go, it's just a tremendous opportunity, right? No, nothing wrong with the big cities, but I'm a country boy, and I love the country life, and I love businesses. That's just me, right? But I appreciate you coming on today. I hope this is one of many chapters that we have, and I look forward to a possible collaboration with you.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey and Lakeisha. I really appreciate the opportunity to let my voice be heard in support of what we're doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, give me 1 second. I do have to give a shout out to our sponsor today. Today, our sponsor is Moneda, America's small business platform. If you haven't heard about Moneda, let me just tell you a little bit about it here. So Moneda is a veteran-owned, open banking, cyber resilient, and AI-powered financial technology platform. And its mission is to inspire community, your spirit, and create more economic opportunities for all. The problem this business is solving is to disrupt this card fee problem that many of you are running into, right? A lot of small businesses are paying $170 billion a year in swipe fees. So you want to talk about what Robyn's talking about, how making more investments in our community. We need to find a way to improve those financial transactions so a small business can reinvest in their business, so they can hire more people in their business and invest in their local community, right? And get this, like we talked about mission and purpose, right? For small businesses, because for them, it's purpose plus profit. It's both for them together. So anytime you support a small business on Moneda, it will give a portion back into the community to attack the veteran homeless problem that we're seeing here today. So you can scan the QR code or visit the Euro here and support our sponsor today. It is an amazing platform. I'm so grateful for you guys to join us today. I hope you guys have a tremendous Saturday and weekend, and we will see you guys at the after show. Veterans Club signing out.